Have the Musk Maga Morons mortally mutilated our magnificent monument to morality? Or, to put it another way, is American democracy totally fucked? Hi, I'm David Dubato, and you have just entered the No Delusion Zone. The questions for today, as I said, are: is this the end of American democracy? Yes, I've asked that before, but there's actually a new study out that I wanted to bring to your attention today, which pretty much confirms what I've said in prior podcasts and articles about the upcoming end to American democracy after almost 250 years. So I want to get right to the reporting. This comes from a professor, Stefan Lindberg of the University of Gothenburg in Sweden, and it was published recently in U.S. News, also known as U.S. News and World Report. And in it, they talk about a study that's done annually on democracies and whether or not they are declining or getting stronger. And unfortunately, as you may have guessed, democracy in America is rapidly declining. So I'm going to quote from this article, and I'm going to put these up on the screen as well. So please follow along as I read this. And this is according to, again, Professor Stefan Lindberg and his study of democracies worldwide. If these trends that you describe continue, can you see the U.S. getting a different classification in your report next year? His answer, quote, "Definitely yes. At the pace at which it is happening, if this continues, I would say that before the end of the summer, you no longer qualify as a democracy in the United States. Doesn't mean you become North Korea. It's a long way to go there. But it would mean that the rule of law, the constraints of the executive, critically, that they would be gone to such an extent that we can no longer talk about even a constitutional republic. And that was the whole point of a constitutional republic from the founding fathers and onwards, to constrain the use of executive power, especially constrained against your opponents, whether they are in the opposition political party, or they're at the universities, or they're in the media, or they are in civil society, or even if they have a difference of mind. The whole idea of the constitutional republic is to allow for that and not have a person in power that can silence all of those." End quote. And I will add, just like Donald dipshit Trump. Donald I, our first monarch, our first dictator, our first asshole, our first liar in chief, our first convicted felon as president. And I just want to read one more area of quotes from that report by Professor Lindberg. And again, this was in U.S. News recently. And the question put to him by U.S. News is there one thing you really want to hammer home for readers? And I'll quote his answer. "I've lived in America. I've been a green card holder. I taught at the University of Florida for 7 years. I decided at a point to relocate back home to Europe. But I think I have at least a bit of a feeling of what it means to live in this country, and even in the sort of deep South. I think at least I can imagine how distant many of those things feel for readers. It's a bit unbelievable. Most of what is happening around the world is not that relevant, maybe, but it's really important to realize that even if it seems that way in the beginning, it also seemed that way in the beginning for people living in Germany in the 1930s. It also seemed that way for many people living in Russia after the revolution in 1917. And I could go down the line with a lot of examples around the world where authoritarian rule has not seemed to be that authoritarian in the beginning, and not seemed to be that relevant for me as a person in the beginning. But in the end, your family or parts of your family end up in jail. But then it's too late. That's the perspective I want people to try and think about. End quote. And folks, that's what I want people to think about. Not just people here in America, but people in Europe, because as you know, if you live in Europe, you are also undergoing a rebirth of extreme right-wing fascism, even Nazism in several areas in Europe. So this is not just about the United States. This is about Western countries in general, Western democracies, specifically all throughout Europe as well as the United States. We are in danger. We are in grave danger. And I no longer refer to us as a constitutional republic or even as the United States of America. For those of you that watch my podcasts, I call where I live now the oligarchy of America. So if we're not in a full-blown dictatorship right now as I make this podcast, we're at the very least in an oligarchy run by uber billionaires, tech bros that don't give a damn about anybody except themselves. They certainly don't give a damn about the average American. So again, we're in an oligarchy here, which is the very next thing to a full-blown dictatorship. And worse than that, a Christian nationalist dictatorship where anyone that doesn't believe in the extreme orthodox Christianity that those nutcases believe in are subject to harassment, threats, and violence, including their families. That's where we're at, and it's going to get worse. So the question for you is, again, is the Constitution or the constitutional republic of America already gone? Am I being too hyperbolic about this? Am I exaggerating? Do I just have Trump derangement syndrome or what? Are we there yet? Is this a dictatorship? No. Is it still a democracy? Is it still a constitutional republic? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. I will try very hard to answer all of your comments or questions. And as always, please subscribe. I very much need your help, as do all the voices of the opposition on social media and the internet need your help. Hit the subscribe button. Go to buymeacoffee.com. Look for the No Delusion Zone. Buy me a coffee. Hopefully become a member where you give at least limited support to this channel every month. And also go to my website, www.protectingtherepublic.com. You have to use the W's, www.protectingtherepublic.com. There you will find exclusive content not found here or on any other social media. Thank you, folks. And as always, you take care, stay safe, and stay sane.